When I was a naive 24-year-old, I met a charming, very smart, and much older man. We'll call him Jake. His sister is Dana. And now to the story. Jake was 42, recently divorced, at least that's what he told me, and he had a kid he would see on the weekends. We met online through a poetry website where we both used to write. He was very aloof and stern in his comments, and not very popular on the website because he always came off as an arrogant prick. But I really liked his poems regardless of his personality. That's how it began. I commented on one, and he instantly PM'd me back, praising my writing and asking if we could collaborate on a duet together. I had already done that 1,000 times with a few friends and people on the site that I respected, so I said sure. Long story short, we met on Hotmail Messenger. This was nearly 11 years ago, kids, so no WhatsApp. Although we did chat on Facebook too. This will be relevant later. We instantly connected. He was funny, handsome, and really sweet underneath all his bravado, and his dark sense of humor was right up my alley. We spent months pulling all-nighters just talking and writing together. Not to humble brag, but I was pretty popular on the site because I won a few awards, so by association, he became popular too. People started to read Jake's poems and commented, and obviously he got a huge head about it. But I digress. Our relationship became more serious after he confessed that he was falling for me, and I was smitten, so I went along with it. We talked about my recent breakup, and he assured me that he would never lie to me because his ex-wife, the witch, cheated on him, and he was devastated until he met me. I was shocked at how bad his ex was, but assured him that I was all in. One important detail about our turbulent romance is that he was in South America, because he's from there, and I was still living in Italy, in my hometown. After almost 2 years of excuses about how tied up with work he was, I decided to surprise him with a visit. I bought my ticket, and it literally was like a dream. He picked me up, we kissed and hugged, and he took me to his beach house, which, by the way, should have been my first red flag, but I was dumb, young, and in love, saying that it would be so much easier and fun for me to do touristy stuff in a beach town than to stay in his suburban house with no car. He told me on such short notice that he didn't have the time nor the means to take time off, which, again, was a blatant lie because he was one of the partners of the company. But again, I bought it, and off I went on my own for almost the entire week I was there. He only spent one night with me. The rest of the week, he just picked me up from wherever I ended up wandering. We hung out for a few hours, had sex, and then he dropped me off at the house. I know that most of you are thinking, come on, OP, get your head out of your ass and realize what a bunch of bullshit that is. Believe me, now that I'm writing this, I realize how much of an idiot I was. But it gets better. The day before I had to get back to Italy, he took me to dinner with his 6-year-old son and his sister. I was super happy to meet his family and son, but got caught off guard when he introduced me as his friend from Italy, dropping by the town as a tourist. His sister was super sweet, albeit a bit awkward, and his son was adorable. We ate, talked, and then off we went. He picked me up first thing in the morning and dropped me off at the airport. Now that you've got the full story, I'll get to the good part. 2 days later, still a bit jet-lagged, I got a very interesting email. Her email was short and very simple. Dear Gina, I know you might think I was weird and maybe a bit rude when we met, but it was only because I was tricked by Jay to join the dinner with his kid. He never mentioned that you guys were dating, but after confronting Jake, he confessed and begged me not to tell anyone, or his marriage would be ruined. But you're such a sweet young girl who doesn't deserve his deception. Jake is still married and never left their home. Don't just take my word for it. Donna sent me pictures of his real Facebook profile, and surprise, the perfect little family. I thanked her and shut down my computer. I really thought Jake was the love of my life and was seriously considering moving there. I spent all night crying and drinking wine until I gave myself the worst migraine, but the heartbreak lasted about 24 hours. At 4:30 in the morning, I got up, showered, made a pot of fresh coffee, and started planning my revenge. I was hurt, yes, but also so angry that he not only deceived me but dragged his sister and his innocent child into his lie. I was on the other side of the world, and I didn't have the money to pay someone to kick his ass or egg his car. But, as my Sicilian father would say to me, if someone slaps you, don't turn the other cheek, cut off their hand. And so I did. Cue my sweet revenge. I sat down at my desk, turned on the computer, and logged into his Hotmail. I didn't have the password, but I knew him well enough to answer his 3 security questions in the forgot password section. 1, 2, 3. Bam, baby, I'm in. And holy, this arrogant piece of human crap was not only dating me, but 2 other girls as well. I quickly logged onto his Facebook because he had everything linked, so I quickly changed all his passwords to I'm a prick and discovered that his personal email was also connected to his work account. I dug through his emails for 2 hours. This idiot never erased anything, so he had more than 5,000 emails, and I found something very interesting. The girls he was also seeing and their very hot email exchanges, dick pics included. So, what did I do? You guessed it, I crafted a very lengthy and explicit email with pics and chat logs attached, confessing to Jake's wife, posing as him, obviously, begging for forgiveness, and declaring what a terrible person I was. As proof of my willingness to change and be transparent, I also sent this email to the girls too. But I claimed I did it only because I was a closeted gay man and thought being a player would help me forget how much I really loved guys. I was sick of pretending and hoped she could move on and maybe we could be friends. But I didn't stop there. I copied his entire list of contacts, including the CEO and partners of the company he worked for, his parents, and Dana, of course. This email was perfect, complete with all the pictures and chats he had ever exchanged with any other women. I copied myself on the list, obviously, as a countermeasure, and moved on to part 2 of my plan. I changed all of his Facebook settings and declared how relieved I was that people finally knew who I really was. The pride flag was his new cover photo, and his profile picture was a photoshopped image of 2 guys kissing. I created 5 different accounts on gay websites, all with his info, including his phone number, and started chatting with a bunch of guys. Then, out of nowhere, a guy sent Jake a message. Tony was his old uni friend who had always been secretly lusting after him for years stranger. And although I felt bad for this later, I set up a date. Now, let's move on to part 3 of my plan. A week after this massive internet blowout, his family and friends angrily called him all sorts of names, and he got fired because his bosses didn't want the bad press. So Jake, trying to make amends with his family and friends, hosted a barbecue for his birthday. But I would have paid a year's worth of salary just to see his face and his guests' reactions when, in the middle of their celebration, Tony appeared with a bottle of champagne and a bag full of lube and sex toys to celebrate privately, as I had asked. Apparently, there was a huge fight, and everyone left. Jake, flustered, angry, and crying, claimed that some psycho wanted to ruin his life. I blocked him and forgot about everything until 6 months ago when, out of the blue, he sent me a message on Instagram asking why I disappeared and didn't support him when he was at his lowest. Oh boy. The satisfaction I felt when I replied, "Sorry, Jake, but I think everything you got was karma for all the lies and time you wasted feeding me. Good luck. Oh, and by the way, it was always me." I then blocked him and made my account private. Jake did try to call a few mutual friends to get them to give him my number, but they ignored him. They also received the infamous email. So yeah, I got my revenge, and it was worth every single hour. Update number 1. For those who think making him appear gay was wrong of me, let me tell you that it was only because of his very machismo attitude and homophobic personality. And because, sadly, for most Latin males, there's nothing worse than being seen as gay. I am 100% with the gay community and love and support them dearly. Update number 2. Let me clarify a few points so people in the back can put down the pitchforks. I never outed Tony. He was very much out of the closet since he was 12 years old. On said barbecue day, he was never beaten, abused, or in danger. The blowout and the fight were only with Jake's family and friends blowing up at him. Tony left safely as soon as he realized the setup. Years later, he's happily married, with a beautiful child, and lives in Europe. I can't say which country, but just know he's happy, and we're still Facebook friends. I apologized to him a few weeks after the barbecue, and although he was hurt, he forgave me and even laughed at all the things I showed him. Final update. I acknowledge that what I did wasn't much better than what he did to me. I was selfish, reckless, and stupid, and I did feel bad for it. After everything blew over, I reached out to Tony and apologized for dragging him into my petty revenge. He was upset, but after hearing my side, he was glad I did it. He only wished I had been upfront with him. We didn't end up like BFFs, but he's still my friend on Facebook and always sends me updates on his life. To clarify a few points, I'm half Italian, half Latina. That's why I'm fluent in both Spanish and Italian. We met on a Spanish poetry website. The mutual friends I mentioned are a few people who lived in South America and wrote on the site with us.